Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking a seriously fascinating journey into 19th and 20th century Korean theology. We are going to explore exactly how two homegrown ideological movements totally redefined the cosmos, humanity's place within it, and the very concept of the modern world. So if you've ever wondered how traditional East Asian thought adapted to a rapidly globalizing world, you are absolutely in the right place.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Picture yourself at a literal crossroads of history. It's the late 19th century. Western civilization is expanding incredibly fast, bringing with it all these technological and modern advancements, but also a hyper-focus on materialism that threatens to just steamroll traditional spiritual life. The central dilemma for Eastern nations was incredibly profound. How do you modernize? How do you step into the future without losing your identity and your soul to Western material-centric influence? To see how Korean thinkers tackled this, we'll follow a quick six-part journey today. 1. Clash of East and West. 2. Donghak's Transcendent Heaven. 3. Dasun's Divine Incarnation. 4. Reorganizing the Three Worlds. 5. Pre-heaven versus post-heaven. And finally, 6. An autogenous Eastern modernity.
Part 1. Clash of East and West.
Let's set the stage and look at the actual crisis that sparked all of this. The key term we need to wrap our heads around here is autogenous modernity. Now, unlike the West, which was busy famously declaring God is dead, East Asia was trying to build an indigenous, self-generated modern mindset. You see, figures like Matteo Ricci introduced Western concepts that were supposed to build this earthly paradise, but the texts argue it actually just created a civilization heavily biased toward materials. It fueled human arrogance, messed with natural laws, and basically bred this unchecked urge to conquer nature. So, in response to this existential threat, Korean thinkers realized they couldn't just copy-paste the Western model. They had to build their own path to the modern world completely from scratch.
Part 2. Donghak's Transcendent Heaven.
So the first real blueprint for this homegrown modern world was Donghak thought, and it completely flipped the traditional script on its head with a concept called Sichenju. Basically, this translates to God is in my heart. Instead of heaven being some distant, untouchable idea like it was in traditional Confucianism, heaven was suddenly redefined as an internalized, transcendent absolute. Think about that for a second. Donghak kicked off this massive human-centered revolution. By placing God literally inside the individual, it completely elevated human dignity and laid the real groundwork for equality and human liberation. And this famous quote just nails it. The sky is the heart, and the heart is the sky. It was this beautiful radical attempt to tear down old social hierarchies by proving that every single person holds the divine right inside them. But, as our source material points out, while Donghak brought this transcendent heaven to humanity, it wasn't quite perfect. It struggled to completely shake off traditional Confucian limits. The divine was still kind of abstract, more of a revelation than a physical boots-on-the-ground reality. Part 3. Daesun's Divine Incarnation. That exact limitation of Donghak we just talked about, that's where our second evolutionary path to modernity, Daesun thought, steps up. Daesun takes that spiritual revolution from Donghak and makes it incredibly physical through Insin Gangse, or divine incarnation. The texts tell us that divine spirits, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas basically petition the Supreme God, the Nine Heavens Supreme God, because the world was completely falling apart thanks to Western materialism. And God's response? He doesn't just send a message. He literally descends to Earth in a human body to actively rebuild the cosmos. Heaven is no longer just an idea in your head. It steps right into the mud of the human world to fix the mess. Now, what's really interesting here is the direct contrast in how these two view autogenous modernity and the view of heaven. On one hand, you have Donghak. Their heaven is transcendent, it's internal, the whole God in my heart concept. It's an abstract absolute. But then look at Daesun. Their view is a physical, hyperactive divine intervention. The Supreme God literally takes human form to execute Chanji Gongsa, which is the great work of reconstructing heaven and earth. So we're moving from a quiet internal spiritual awakening to a massive systemic overhaul of the entire universe.
Part 4. Reorganizing the Three Worlds.
So this divine incarnation wasn't just a quick symbolic visit. It led to a total ground-up restructuring of the universe as they knew it. This brings us to Samgye, or the Three Realms. Daesun thought completely remapped the cosmic structure into the heavenly world, the earthly world, and the human world. But here is the really crucial part. This isn't just a static stack of dimensions like layers of a cake. It's a deeply, deeply interconnected system. These three worlds are dynamically linked and actually managed by an administrative system of divine spirits called Shinmyong. Just to put that in perspective, let's compare it. Traditional Buddhism views the three worlds as desire, form, and formlessness, which are basically just subsets of a spiritual experience. But Daesun Samge actively wires the heavenly, earthly, and human worlds together into one massive operating enterprise. The divine spirits, the Shinmyong, are constantly commuting between these realms. And they don't just, govern the weather. The texts say they actually enter human minds to change people's constitution and character. It is a fully integrated cosmic administration where gods and humans are literally working together.
Part 5. Pre-heaven versus post-heaven.
All right, so we've seen how space and the cosmic structure got completely reorganized. Now let's shift gears and look at the flow of time and the grand epochs of the universe. In this academic framework, both Donghak and Daesun are grappling with this massive transition of cosmic time. Donghak looks backward a bit, pursuing change through a return to nature. Daesun thought, on the other hand, is all about creating a totally new order from scratch, cutting time cleanly into two halves, the pre-heaven, which is our past, and the post-heaven, which is our future. To really grasp what's at stake here, listen to this piece of scripture from Daesun Thought. In the pre-heaven, all human things are ruled by opposites, and resentment accumulates in the world. In the post-heaven, the world returns to coexistence, and it becomes a peaceful world. This philosophy basically diagnoses our past and current world as incredibly toxic. It's conflicted, it's ruled by mutual antagonism. And the cure? A future-oriented state of Ha-Wan Sangsang, which translates to the resolution of resentment and mutual coexistence. To sum up that contrast, pre-heaven, or Sanchan, is our past. It's an era that's fundamentally wired for conflict, opposites, and just a massive accumulation of grievances. Post-heaven, or Huchan, is Daesun's ultimate future-oriented goal. Thanks to that divine reconstruction of the universe we talked about, the destination is perfect harmony, a place where all past resentments are finally resolved, and humanity and the divine coexist in total peace.
Part 6. An Autogenous Eastern Modernity.
Let's bring these two narrative arcs, Donghak and Daesun, together to find our ultimate takeaway. Looking at this research background, it's super clear that both of these philosophies, even with their theological differences, were bold, totally homegrown attempts to build an independent modern East Asian identity. They were watching their world change at lightning speed, traditional orders breaking down, and this huge wave of Western civilization crashing over them. But instead of just assimilating, they innovated. They built something entirely new right from within their own cultural and spiritual DNA. We can basically think of them as two very distinct paths leading to the exact same destination. Donghak gave us a people-centered revolutionary theology, focusing hard on transcendental values and finding the divine deep within human nature. Daesun gave us a highly systematized, future-oriented cosmology where the divine physically intervenes to fix a broken universe. But their shared goal? Absolutely identical. They both wanted to overcome what they saw as the toxic, incredibly arrogant materialism of Western modernity. They were both trying to answer that core, universal human desire for peace, for equality, and for a life that means something more than just material consumption. Which leaves us with a pretty powerful lingering thought. We live in an era right now that is arguably way more hyper-materialistic and disconnected than the one Matteo Ricci introduced all those centuries ago. The imbalances these Korean thinkers were warning us about, the arrogance, the environmental destruction, the toxic polarization, those are literally the headlines of today. So I leave you with this. As we search for balance in our own modern chaotic lives, could these 19th century indigenous blueprints, with their focus on internal divinity, resolving deep-seated resentment, and cosmic harmony, actually hold the cure we're still looking for? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.